Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, distinguished postgraduate students, esteemed organizational executives, valued colleagues and friends. You're warmly welcome to Lecture 7 of the Research Methods Across Disciplines lecture series. The next two slides provide relevant social media links for the lecture series and information about the series lecturer, Professor Linus Oswago. I am Linus Oswago, PhD valedictorian, full professor of marketing at Veritas University, Abuja in Nigeria, former chair of the Institutional Review Board IRB at the American University of Nigeria, AU and Yola, and former pioneer vice chancellor of a university in Nigeria. I bring to this lecture series over 3 decades of experience in teaching, research, and university leadership. I've had the privilege of building academic institutions from the ground up, working as group head at Research International Lagos in Nigeria, and supervising many postgraduate students in Nigeria, South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Afghanistan, among other places, thereby giving me first-hand experience of the issues we will discuss in today's lecture. Recall that in Lecture 6, we explored the 3 major research design methodological families, comprising quantitative, qualitative, and mixed methods. Today in Lecture 7, we will dive deeper into specific advanced research designs. By the end of this lecture, you will be able to select and justify advanced research designs for your thesis or organizational research. So, let's continue our research journey. We implore you to stay curious. Let your research methods be rigorous and flexible, and stay contextually relevant. Let's begin. Enjoy. The slide provides information about research methods across disciplines, a comprehensive lecture series for postgraduate students and organizational executives. Relevant information is provided here about the series lecturer, his department, institutional affiliation, LinkedIn profile link, Google Scholar profile link, and YouTube channel link for the entire lecture series. This slide provides information about the profile of the series lecturer with regard to his academic background, his research interests, his LinkedIn profile link, his Google Scholar profile link, and his current institutional contact regarding department and university. Once again, welcome to Lecture 7. Today we are going deeper into specific research designs. These advanced research designs are experimental research design, quasi-experimental research design, case study research design, and longitudinal research design. By the end of this lecture, you'll be able to design through research experiments with random assignment, control groups, and binding. Apply quasi-experimental design, research design such as DID, RDD, ITS, PSF, when randomization is impossible. Design case studies with clear case boundaries and triangulated evidence. Design longitudinal studies comprising panel, cohort, and trend to track changes over time. Select and justify appropriate advanced research design for Global South research context. The takeaway here is that advanced research design unlocks stronger causal claims than cross-sectional research designs. Let's give a self-assessment at the beginning. What advanced research design might work for your research question in your discipline? The presentation in Lecture 7 is anchored on some foundational works. We presented those foundational works as key literature for Lecture 7. The key literature foundational works in Lecture 7 is presented in this slide. Let's look at experimental research designs. Experimental research designs are defined by 3 pillars or characteristics. These are randomization, a control group, and manipulation of an intervention or treatment. We present the major types of experimental research designs with illustration and real-world examples from the Global South in health, agriculture, and education. Let's look at post-test only control group type of experimental research design. In this experimental research design, research participants are randomly assigned to a treatment or control group. The dependent variable is measured only once after the intervention or treatment. This helps to avoid testing effects, that is where taking a pretext changes how research participants behave. Let's give a Global South illustration and example. Illustration. Evaluating a drought-resistant maize seed in smallholder farms in Kenya. Procedure. 200 farmers are randomly assigned to either receive the new hybrid maize seed, which is the treatment, or continue using their traditional local seed, which is the control. Both treatment and control groups plant their seeds at the same time. At the end of the growing season, researchers measure the final yield, tons per hectare, for both groups and compare them. Let's present a research example associated. A study on community-based HIV prevention in Zimbabwe used this research design to measure HIV incidence after the intervention, thereby avoiding the ethical and logistical complications of pretesting for HIV status. You can trace this to the work of Regression et al. 2007. Let's look at pretest post-test control group type of experimental research design. This is the gold standard experimental design for educational and behavioral research. In this research design, both treatment and control groups are measured before and after the intervention or treatment. This allows the researcher to calculate the change score, gain or loss, for each group and statistically control for any pre-existing differences between groups. Let's give Global South illustration and research example. Illustration. Evaluating a digital literacy program for public school teachers in rural Brazil. Procedure. Teachers are randomly assigned to a 6-month online training program, which is the treatment, or a wait list, which is the control. Both groups take a standardized digital competency test in January, pre-test. The treatment group takes the course from February to July in August. Both groups take the same test again, which is a post-test. The researcher compares the improvement in scores between the two groups to isolate the effect of the program. Let's provide a research example. A large-scale study in South Africa used this research design to test the impact of a parenting program on child behavior, measuring behavioral scores before and after the 12-week intervention for both the treatment and control groups. See the works of Ward et al. 2020. Number 3 is factorial type of experimental research design. This research design tests two independent variables or factors simultaneously to see if they have individual main effects and interaction effect. That is, does the effect of one variable depend on the other, on the level of the other variable? The 2 by 2 in this means that each factor has two levels. For example, high or low, yes or no, positive or negative. Let's provide global South illustration and research example. Illustration. Testing a microfinance savings intervention in rural India. Looking at training type, that is group-based versus individual, by incentive, cash bonus versus no bonus. Procedure. Villagers are randomized into 4 groups comprising 1. Group training and cash bonus, 2. Group training and no bonus, 3. Individual training and cash bonus, and 4. Individual training and no bonus. The outcome is total savings after 6 months. This allows researchers to answer the question, is group training better than individual training? Is a bonus effective? And most importantly, does a bonus work better for individual training than for group training? Let's provide a research example. A 2 by 2 factorial trial in Zambia and South Africa tested TB interventions, that's community-based versus household-based, and enhanced versus standard to see which combination most effectively reduced tuberculosis prevalence. See with the work of Iles et al. 2013. Let's look at number 4 type, which is Solomon 4-group type of experimental research design. This is the most rigorous type of experimental design. It combines the pre-test, post-test design, that's groups 1 and 2, with the post-test only design, that is groups 3 and 4. It is specifically designed to dictate and control for the interaction effect of the pre-test itself. That is, does taking the pre-test make research participants more sensitive to the treatment? Let's provide Global South illustration and research example. Illustration. Evaluating a new anti-malaria bed net usage educational campaign in Uganda. Procedure. Group 1 takes a knowledge survey, which is pre-test, receives the educational video, and takes the survey again. Group 2 takes the survey twice, but sees a placebo video. Group 3 skips the pre-test, watches the educational video, and takes the survey once. Group 4 skips the pre-test, watches a placebo video, and takes the survey once. By comparing groups 1 and 3, the researcher can tell if the act of taking the pre-test made people pay more attention to the video. Let's look at a research example. Why rare? This due to its complexity and cost. This research design was utilized in agricultural extension research in the Philippines to test whether pre-testing farmers' knowledge artificially inflated the effectiveness of a new rice farming technique. See the work of Feder and Mogai, 2004. It should be noted that this study utilized a quasi-experimental variant, but the methodological framework strongly follows the Solomon logic in order to isolate the testing effects in the developing country context. Let's look at randomized controlled trial, RCT. The randomized controlled trial is the gold standard research design for establishing causality in research. Key features of randomized controlled trials include 1. Random assignment to treatment and control groups. 2. Deliberate manipulation of the independent variable. 3. There is a control group to compare against the treatment group. 4. There may be pre-test, post-test measurement. This is optional. The common true experiment research designs which anchor causal research include 1. Post-test only control group, pre-test, post-test control group, and factorial design. These 3 experimental research designs are the cornerstone of experimental causal research. Across the Global South context, they are used for evaluating public health, education, and agricultural interventions in resource-constrained and socially complex settings. Each of these experimental research designs is illustrated next with an African example. Number 1, post-test only control group experimental research design. This is the simplest true experiment. In this research design, research participants are randomized into treatment and control groups, with outcomes measured only after the intervention. This is so that no pretest can sensitize research participants. Let's provide Global South example, the Mwanza trial in Tanzania. 6 pairs of rural communities were matched. Within each pair, one was randomized to improve STI treatment. The other served as control group. The research participants as patients were measured after 2 years. It was found that HIV incidence was about 40% lower in the intervention, that is treatment group. Adjusted risk ratio was 0.58, 95% confidence interval. This was the first trial or treatment proving that training STIs causes HIV transmission. Let's look at the strength of this research design. It eliminates testing effects. There's no pretest. The limitation of this research is that inference rests entirely on randomization, having created equivalent groups. Let's look at pre-test, post-test control group experimental research design. This research design has a pretest, that is baseline, before randomization and intervention or treatment. This will enable researchers to measure change within each group, confirm baseline balance, and isolate the treatment effect more robustly. Let's look at Global South example in Nigeria. Across 6 schools, 150 junior secondary schools were assigned to a textbook control group or to digital assessment group with feedback, or feedback plus remediation. Attitudes to basic science were measured before and after. Grounded in the technology accepted model term, an ANCOVA analysis showed both digital groups became significantly more positive than the control, regardless of socioeconomic background. Note that in this research design, measuring change strengthens causal claims, but the pretest itself can sensitize research participants, which may lead to a testing effect. Let's look at factorial experimental research design 2 by 2. This experimental research design tests 2 effects of factors at once across 4 groups, revealing each factor's main effect and their interaction. Let's give a Global South example, the Zamstar trial. See the works of Ellis et al. 2013. This was a 2 by 2 factorial cluster randomized study across 24 communities in Zimbabwe and South Africa. Factor 1 was community-wide enhancement TB case finding. Factor 2 was household TB HIV intervention. What was the research result? The household group of TB prevalence by 18% and childhood TB infection by 15%, while case finding alone had no effect. This experimental research design pinpointed which factor drove the impact. Let's discuss blinding in experimental research designs. Blinding experimental research design, also called masking, hides group information from research participants, researchers, or analysts in order to prevent bias. Let's look at levels of blinding, and these include unblinded open library. In this, everyone knows who gets what. Single blind. In this, only research participants, that respondents or subjects, are unaware of their group. Double blind. In this, neither research participants nor the researchers interacting with them know the group. Triple blind. In this, blinding extends to the data analysts in the research. Let's look at blinding effects in research, and these include participant bias affects research outcomes. 2. Observer clinician bias affects research measurements. 3. Data analyst bias affects research data analysis. We're presenting a summary table comprising research design, number of groups, pre-test, key advantage, and key challenge in the Global South research setting. For post-test only, there are 2. Is there pre-test? No. Key advantage: it is simple, cheap, and no testing bias. In the Global South, this type requires very large sample sizes to ensure that randomization works without a pretest. In the pre-test, post-test, the number of groups is 2. Is pretest required? Yes. The key advantage is that it measures change, and it is statistically powerful. This pretesting can be logistically difficult in remote areas with low literacy in the Global South research settings. The table continues. For factorial 2 by 2, the number of groups 4. It is optional for pretest. This advantage is that it takes 2 interventions at once, and including their interaction. In the Global South settings, it requires 4 times the resources and complex community mobilization. For the Solomon 4-group research design, groups required are 4. Is pretest required? Yes, for 2 groups. The advantage is that it eliminates pretest sensitization, which is the gold standard. In the Global South context, it is extremely expensive and difficult to manage, and it is rarely used in low-result settings in the Global South. Let's present research in action with regard to randomized controlled trial in Kenya, and this is due to the work of Miguel and Kremer 2004. The research design. The research was randomly phased across schools, not across individuals, in order to capture spillovers. The sample comprised 75 primary schools in Busia with about 30,000 pupils. Associated findings. Absenteeism fell by about 25%, with health and attendance gains spilling over to untreated children nearby. What's the lesson from this research? The lesson is that randomized controlled trial RCT was found to be cheaper than any alternative research design. What's the major takeaway? The major takeaway is randomized controlled trials are the gold standard experimental research design, but are not always feasible ethical, especially in the global south. The self-assessment check here is that when would RCT be inappropriate for your research context in your discipline? Let's look at quasi-experimental research designs. Quasi-experimental research designs are used when random assignment of research participants or subjects is impossible. They can be used in policy evaluations, organizational interventions, and educational programs, among others. The major assumptions associated with quasi-experimental research design are: number one, the as-if random assumption. After adjusting for measured factors or variables, assignment of research participants or subjects is treated or assumed as if the assignment is random. Assumption 2 for quasi-experimental research design is no unobserved confounders assumption. In this, all important factors affecting treatment and outcome are measured or assumed to be measured. Number 3 assumption is design-specific assumptions. This means that each quasi-experimental research design carries its own assumption or specific assumptions. See the next slide for further treatment. Types of quasi-experimental designs include: number 1, difference in difference. This type of quasi-experimental design compares change over time between groups. It assumes parallel trends. Number 2 type of quasi-experimental research design is regression discontinuity RDD. In this type, assignment of subjects or participants is by a cutoff score. What is this assumption? It assumes smoothness at the threshold. Number 3 type of quasi-experimental research design is interrupted time series, ITS. It deals with trends before versus after an intervention. What is this assumption? It assumes no co-occurring changes or change. Number 4 type of quasi-experimental research design is propensity score matching, PSM. This type of quasi-experimental research design matches units on observed threats. This assumption, it assumes no unobserved confounders. Let's look at research in action with regard to difference in difference of school construction in Indonesia. And this is associated with the work of Duflo, 2001. The research design used in this study is difference in difference using the 1973 to 78 IMPRESS program with over 61,000 primary schools. The comparisons were made regarding regions receiving more versus fewer schools across, and young cohorts versus old enough to benefit. The key research finding: each school per 1,000 children added 0.1220. 0.12 to 0.19 years of schooling and 1.5 to 2.7% higher wages. When this research design works, program timing and placement created an as-if random natural experiment. which is a feature of quasi-experimental research design. Let's discuss validity checks in quasi-experimental research. These include internal validity, and it asks the question, did X really cause Y? Check selection bias. For this validity, check selection bias, history, maturation, and attrition. Number 2 is statistical conclusion validity. And it asks the question, is the effect real? Or was appropriate statistical technique used? For this, check statistical power and assumption violations in statistics. Number 3 is construct validity, and it asks the question, are we measuring what we think? For this validity, check construct alignment. Number 4 validity is external validity, and it asks the question, do results apply to the real world? For this validity, check generalizability. The key takeaway here is that quasi-experimental research designs are the next best research design after randomized controlled trial, but require rigorous validity checks. Let's give self-assessment check. Which quasi-experimental research design would work for your research question in your discipline? Let's discuss the case study research design. A case study research design is an in-depth investigation of a specific issue, entity, or system using multiple sources of evidence. When we use case study research design, it is used for how and why research questions. Also, it is used for exploring complex contemporary phenomena of research interest. And it is used when context cannot be separated from the case or issue. Let's look at types of case studies in research. And as shown on the slide, you have 3 columns. Column 1 has single, and for holistic, meaning 1 unit, this involves 1 firm overall. And for embedded multiple subunits, this involves 1 firm with teams, departments, etc. For multiple, another holistic 1 unit, this involves many firms. And for embedded, this involves many firms with subunits. Let's discuss sources of evidence for case studies research designs. These include interviews, which may be semi-structured, open-ended, etc. Number 2, documents, such as annual reports, emails, policies, etc. Observation, that entails watching what happens. Records, such as sales figures, employee data, etc. And archival data, including historical records, among others. Let's discuss case study protocol or structure. A case study protocol has 4 sections. These sections are overview. This section contains objectives, theory, and context associated with the case. Number 2 is field procedures. This section contains access, data sources, and schedule. Section 3 contains the case study research questions, which contains the study's research questions, not interview questions, should be noted. And section 4 is guide for the case study report, which contains the case study's report structure. Generally, the case study research design method allows deep, context-sensitive inquiry essential for understanding realities, typically offset by the broad global north-centric research frameworks or frameworks generally. The examples in the following slides show for each global south phenomenon the research question and the value a case study research design adds. In this slide, there are four sections. There are three sections consisting of research, phenomena, and case location, major research question addressed, and the value added by the case study research design. Let's look at data centers as urban infrastructure. This is in Brazil. The major research question: how is the expansion of data centers in a next frontier country like Brazil governed and legitimated? How do these infrastructural intersect with local issues such as inequality, energy politics, and community mobilization? The case study research design provides detailed place-based analysis of global digital infrastructure. A case study of specific urban nodes, such as Sao Paulo, Fortaleza, can reveal the competing material discourses and local frictions of the cloud that a macro-level analysis would not do. For supporting literature, see the work of Line 2026 and Bragion et al. 2023. The next one with regard to research phenomena and case location is reconfiguring global production networks in Ghana. The research question is, can a company move beyond colonial era trade patterns by processing raw materials, which is cocoa, in the global south for sale in the global north? What obstacles and successes arise when trying to capture more value at source? Value added. A case study of a company can analyze the specific issues such as costs and present narratives and knowledge used to challenge entrenched global individual structure and practice. See the work of Rook and France, 2025. Number 3 is public response to cybersecurity failures in Indonesia. And the research question is, how do citizens in the global south perceive and respond to government data breaches? And how can local researchers study this phenomenon without relying on global north data infrastructure? The value added by case study. A case study research design approach, e.g. the snapshot of society model, can generate culturally situated insights. It can explain context-specific phenomena like data breach fatigue and offer a methodological path for research in contexts where formal data is scarce. The supporting literature for this is the work of Hardy 2025. Participatory climate adaptation. This is in Nicaragua. The research question: how can local and participatory research approaches be used to assess the feasibility of climate adaptation options in data-poor regions of the global south? A case study of a region like Puerto Morazan provides a proof of concept for methodological advancement. It demonstrates how to operationalize global feasibility frameworks such as IPCC at the local level, thereby incorporating priorities and expertise of stakeholders in the research setting. For supporting literature, see the work of Glazen Bolanos et al. 2025. The next one is community-led urban planning, and this is in Indonesia. And the research question is, how do community initiatives like creative kampongs reshape planning practices in neighborhoods, moving from government-led to more collaborative approaches in a post-authoritarian research context? The value added via the case studies are the case study research design method allows for process-oriented examination of change. It can explore specific episodes, governance processes, and the role of embedded cultures in determining the shape of collaborative planning practices. Supporting literature here are the works of Pamana 2020 and Fitri and Sari 2025. The other one is late-stage capitalism in rural communities, and this is in Madagascar. And the research question is, how does economic volatility and financial speculation originating from the global north manifest in the lives of rural workers in the global south? In this, regarding value, a case study research design focusing on resource booms and busts can capture how global economies experience research shocks. And this has a supporting literature. Let's present research in action, and we're using Dangote Group supply chain. The case is Dangote Group supply chain transformation. The scope of boundaries between 2015 to 2020 and focus on Nigerian operations of this company. The data sources included published reports, interviews with 15 executives, and financial statements. The data analysis used included thematic analysis, pattern matching, etc. The key research finding is that local sourcing and infrastructural investment drove competitive advantage in an organization. The key takeaway here is that case studies generalize to theory, not population. Let's give a self-assessment check. What case would you study for your research question in your discipline? Let's discuss longitudinal research designs. Longitudinal research designs involve repeated observations of the same subjects or phenomena of research interest over time. Types of longitudinal studies include, number one, panel study. In this, the same individuals are followed over time, e.g., South Africa's National Income Dynamic Study, NIDS, National Household Panel Survey. The second one is cohort study. In this longitudinal design, a group sharing an experience is followed over time. For example, Young Lives Birth cohorts. The number three type of longitudinal research design is the trend study. In this, different samples from the same population are studied over time. Some supporting works are provided for trend study. What to look at advantages of longitudinal research design? The advantages include, number one, they capture individual level change over time. Number two, they establish temporal precedent, thereby assisting causal claims. Number three is that they control stable unobserved heterogeneity or dissimilarity via fixed effects. And number four is that they offer greater statistical power. What to look at challenges of longitudinal research designs, and these include, one, they are time-consuming and expensive. Number two, they suffer participants' attrition. Number three, they involve complex multi-wave data management. Number four, they risk panel conditioning where repeated measurement changes behavior of panel participants. Let's present research in action with regard to panel study of small and medium enterprises growth in Ghana. The research design was panel study. The sample, 500 small and medium enterprises, were followed over 5 years. Research methods used. Annual surveys and fixed effects regression analysis were used. Key research findings is that access to credit within film change over time significantly predicted revenue growth. Its advantage is that it controls from all-time invariant film traits or characteristics such as culture, location, and founder characteristics. The key takeaway here with regard to longitudinal research design is that longitudinal research designs are strongest for causal inference but demand time and resources. We give self-assessment check. What longitudinal research design would work for your research question in your discipline? We present research design selection frameworks. And this framework, major question is, what is your research purpose? It guides your choice of advanced research design. It's your choice or your research purpose to make causal inference. If it is, use randomized controlled trial if possible, or quasi-experimental research design. It's your research purpose to understand a bounded system. If yes, use case study. Number 3, is your research purpose to track change over time? If yes, use longitudinal research design. If your research purpose is to describe a population, use survey research design. The takeaway here is that you should match the advanced research design to your purpose, not the other way around. Let's give a self-assessment check. Which advanced research design matches your research question in your discipline? Let's look at application of research designs to the global south, including the adaptations. How can researchers adapt advanced research design to global south research context? Instances of use of advanced research design adaptations in the global south include the following. Number 1, experiments. Field experiments now thrive in global south research settings. For example, microfinance in Hyderabad and remedial teaching in India. Number 2, quasi-experimental research design. Natural experiments arise from policy shifts. For example, Indonesia's school building and South Africa's pension expansion. Number 3 is case study. Single or multiple case studies suit complex global south research phenomena. Number 3, longitudinal data. Panels such as Young Lives and NIDS track change where DHS data is only cross-section. Also, mobile follow-ups build pseudo panels. These are adaptations of advanced research designs in the global south. The key takeaway here is that as a researcher, you should adapt advanced research design to the global south context of interest to you, not to import research designs that are not relevant to the research context. Let's make a self-assessment here. How would you adapt an advanced research design to your context and discipline? Let's present the executive decision framework regarding choosing advanced research design. For our executive audience, here is a framework for choosing advanced research design. Pilot programs deserve experimental rigor. A simple randomized control trial or quasi-experimental research design turns guesses about what works into evidence which executives can defend and use. The self-assessment is that what advanced research design would you commission as an executive for a pilot program in your organization? Let's present a thesis dissertation connection regarding advanced research designs. If your thesis or dissertation investigates change or causation, consider randomized controlled trials, quasi-experiments, or panel data, because these research designs unlock stronger causal claims than cross-sectional survey designs. Let's present a sample of or samples of research design statements. This study used a difference in difference DID research design to evaluate a training program's impact on small and medium enterprises' performance. The DID research design was chosen because random assignment was impossible, but a comparison group was available for the research. Another research design statement is, this study used a single case research design to understand how a Nigerian fintech startup grew rapidly. This case is bounded by time, that is 2015 to 2020, and location, that is Nigerian operations. Key takeaway here is that your advanced research design choice statement should justify why the design is appropriate. The self-assessment check is, can you justify your advanced research design choice for a study in your discipline? Let's present some self-assessment quiz questions regarding advanced research design. Question 1. Which feature distinguishes true experiments from quasi-experiments? The answer is random assignment. Question 2. When assignment is based on a cut-off score, which quasi-experimental research design is appropriate? The correct answer is regression discontinuity. Question 3. Which longitudinal research design follows the same individual over time? The answer is panel study. Question 4 requires a true or false answer. Case studies are only appropriate for single case investigations. The answer is false because there is multiple case studies which are common. Question 5 is, the key advantage of longitudinal research designs over cross-sectional research design is? The answer is the ability to track individual level change. We present skill builder exercise, and the task is to design a difference in difference DID or interrupted time series study for a policy question in your context and discipline. The key takeaway is that designing a credible quasi-experimental research design is a valuable research skill for researchers. Let's present a summary of Lecture 7. The salient points are that we explored through experiments with random assignment, control groups, and blinding. We examined quasi-experimental designs such as DID, RDD, ITS, PSM to be used when randomization is impossible. We designed case studies with a clear case boundaries and triangulated evidence. We explored longitudinal studies comprising panel, cohort, and trend designs. We discussed adaptation of advanced research design to the Global South research context. Let's present some key concepts in Lecture 7. One is through experiments involving random assignment, control groups, and blinding in order to establish causality. The other one is quasi-experimental research design such as DID, RDD, ITS, and PSM to be used when randomization is impossible. The other one is case study, which is bounded in-depth inquiry built on triangulated evidence. The other one is longitudinal study, comprising panel, cohort, and trend design, which track changes over time. The other one is global South adaptation of advanced research design. It entails tailoring advanced research design to the global South local context. We presented some references and further readings. We want to preview lecture 8. In lecture 8, we will move from research design to exploring the relevance of research methods across disciplines lecture series to measure disciplines such as education, engineering, law, health and medical sciences, management sciences, social sciences, humanities and arts, natural and applied sciences, pharmaceutical sciences, and theology, among others. We implore you to stay curious, stay contextually relevant, and let your research methods be rigorous and flexible. Let's continue the research journey. Thank you.